Martin Luther, The Power of Conviction in the Face of Adversity. What does it mean to stand firm in your beliefs against a gale of opposition? Imagine you are a solitary tree on a vast plain. The winds howl and rage against you, threatening to uproot you from your steadfast stance. Yet, you remain unyielding, your roots entrenched deep within the earth. This, my friends, is the essence of true conviction. I come before you as Martin Luther, a man who once stood defiant against the tempest of his times. I challenge the very foundations of the church not in arrogance, but driven by a relentless pursuit of truth and justice. Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound lessons from the legend, the birth of conviction. Every conviction has its genesis. For me, it was the day I nailed my 95 theses to the doors of Wittenberg's Castle Church. It wasn't a mere act of defiance. It was the culmination of tireless study, of unquenchable thirst for the divine truth, and an unwavering belief in the power of the individual's faith. My journey began not when I struck the first hammer blow, but within the quiet cloisters of my studies. I implore you to consider your own foundations, the bedrock upon which your beliefs are built. Are they crafted from the stone of personal experience, the mortar of knowledge, and the reinforcement of reflection? In the fabric of your life, you will encounter moments that challenge the very core of your convictions. I urge you to recall the trials of Job, whose faith was tested but never faltered. What are your trials, and how will you face them? I once said, faith is a living, daring confidence in God's grace, so sure and certain that a man could stake his life on it 1,000 times. What is the faith that you would stake your life upon? The crucible of challenge. Conviction is not merely about holding beliefs. It is about withstanding the crucible of challenge. As I stood before the diet of worms, the might of the Holy Roman Empire before me, I was asked to recant. Yet, it was not within me to betray my conscience, for to go against conscience is neither right nor safe. You too will face your diet of worms, a time when the world asks you to yield, to compromise your deepest truths. How will you respond? Will you be swayed by the comfort of conformity, or will you stand as I did with the resolve that, here I stand, I can do no other? I encourage you to look to the story of David and Goliath. David, armed with little more than conviction, faced a giant that all others feared. Where is your Goliath, and what is the sling and stone of your conviction? Peace if possible, truth at all costs. How will you balance the pursuit of peace with the unrelenting call of truth? The sustenance of community. No man is an island, and even the most solitary tree benefits from the shelter of the forest. During my most arduous trials, it was the support of princes and commoners alike that sustained my mission. The community of believers who shared my vision became the lifeblood of the Reformation. Consider the people who surround you. Are they the kind who fan the flames of your conviction, or do they seek to snuff it out? It is said that iron sharpens iron. Thus, one person sharpens another. Who are the people sharpening you? Remember the parable of the sower. The seeds cast on good soil thrived, while those on the path withered. So too must your convictions find fertile ground within a community that nurtures and sustains them. In your darkest hour, remember my words. I am bound by the scriptures I have quoted, and my conscience is captive to the word of God. To what or whom is your conscience bound? The legacy of action. Conviction without action is like a book that is never read, a potential unfulfilled. The Reformation was not just a product of my beliefs. It was the result of tireless action, of preaching, teaching, and translating the Bible so that every man could read the Word. Think of your convictions as seeds you carry. Are you content to hold them within your pockets, or will you plant them in the world? The greatest achievements often start with the simplest of actions. Recall the widow's mite. Her small offering was of greater worth than the grandest donations of the wealthy, for it was all she had. What is your mite, and are you willing to offer it? It is not enough to believe in your mind. You must believe in your heart. What actions will you take that reveal the convictions of your heart? As we walk through the annals of history, remember that it is not merely the battles we win, but the wars we endure that define us. Let the power of conviction guide you through adversity, as your convictions are not the shackles that bind you, but the wings that allow you to soar above the tempests of trial and tribulation. Let us now progress further and see where the winds of conviction may yet take us. The unyielding flame, nurturing the fire of conviction. Amidst the storms. In the heart of every person, there burns a flame of conviction, of belief in something greater than oneself. It is this flame that I, Martin Luther, have tended throughout my life, even as tempests sought to extinguish it. Now, I invite you to tend your own flame, to nurture it into an unyielding fire that can withstand any storm. The resilience of conviction. The resilience of conviction is not a trait one is born with. It is honed through the relentless pursuit of what is just and true. There were times when I stood alone, my beliefs set against the tide of the era. Yet, it was the resilience of my conviction that held me steadfast. As you stride through life, you will undoubtedly encounter forces that threaten to erode your resolve. How will you fortify your beliefs against such torrents? Consider the might of a lighthouse, enduring the onslaught of the sea. It stands not merely by strength of construction, but by the depth of its foundation. Are your convictions built upon such foundations? The resilience of conviction is also about flexibility in the face of change. When I translated the Bible into German, it was an act of adaptability, bringing the word to the people in a form they could grasp. How will you adapt your convictions to the shifting sands of time while maintaining their core essence? The true treasure of the church is the most holy gospel of the glory and the grace of God. What treasures do you hold that are worth more than gold and silver? The echo of conviction. Conviction does not resonate in a void. It echoes through the actions we take and the lives we touch. My writings, my protests against indulgences, were but echoes of a deeper truth I sought to amplify. Your convictions, too, must find their voice, must resonate beyond the chambers of your heart. What are the actions you will take that will become the echoes of your conviction? How will you ensure that these echoes are not distorted as they ripple through the world? Remember, it is not just the shout that is heard, but the whisper that is listened to in silence. In the echo of conviction lies the power of example. My stand against the sale of indulgences was not just a personal vendetta. It was a clarion call for others to recognize the corruption that had infiltrated the faith. When you act upon your convictions, you light a beacon for others to follow. What example will you set? Be a sinner and sin boldly, but believe and rejoice in Christ even more boldly. How will you balance the humility of imperfection with the boldness of belief? The harvest of conviction. The true measure of conviction is seen in the harvest it yields. The Reformation was not the work of a single season. It was a harvest years in the making. the result of tireless labor and unwavering belief. Each of you carries within the seeds of change, of growth, of revolution. What harvest will your conviction yield? Consider the planting of a tree. It does not bear fruit overnight. It requires nurturing, water, sunlight, and time. So too do your convictions require nurturing before they can bear the fruits of change. Are you prepared to tend to your convictions with such patience? Remember that the greatest harvest is often reaped by those who plant trees under whose shade they know they shall never sit. Are you planting for a harvest you may never see? I have held many things in my hands, and I have lost them all, but whatever I have placed in God's hands, that I still possess. What will you place in God's hands, and what will you cling to? As we draw this part to a close, remember that the strength of your conviction is not just reflected in the stance you take, but in the grace with which you weather the storm. Like the steadfast oak that grows stronger with each passing wind, may your convictions deepen, your resolve harden, and your spirit soar ever higher. The Luminous Path, illuminating the journey of unassailable convictions. In the quest for truth and the defense of justice, the path we tread is often obscured by the shadows of opposition and doubt. Yet, it is the luminous light of our convictions that casts aside these shadows, revealing the way forward. As we venture on, let us carry this light boldly, illuminating not only our journey but the paths of those who walk beside us. The compass of conviction. In the vast sea of life's uncertainties, conviction serves as a steadfast compass, guiding us through uncharted waters. When the church's teaching seemed adrift from the scriptures, my convictions became the compass that navigated me back to the true course. As you sail through your own tempests, consider what guides you. Are your convictions strong enough to serve as your compass, unwavering in the face of life's gales? Just as the mariner trusts the compass to guide them home, so too must you trust your convictions to lead you to your true north. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. How do you reconcile your plans with the divine direction? The beacon of conviction. Conviction is not only a guide for oneself, but a beacon for others. It was my hope that my stand would not only correct the course of my own life, but also serve as a beacon to others who sought reform and truth. Your convictions, when acted upon, can become a beacon that cuts through the fog of complacency and conformity. They signal to others that there is a different way, a truer path. How will you shine your beacon of conviction to light the way for others? Light your lamps and set them on a stand so that they may give light to all in the house. What is the lamp of your conviction, and how will you ensure its light is seen? The refugee of conviction. Convictions do not only challenge, they also comfort. In my darkest hours, my beliefs were the refugee I sought, offering solace and strength. When excommunicated and branded an outlaw, my convictions were the sanctuary within which my spirit took shelter. As you face trials and tribulations, let your convictions be the refuge where you find peace and resolve. In the midst of life's storms, can your beliefs be the safe harbor that keeps you anchored? God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Are your convictions deeply rooted enough to be your refuge in times of trouble? The testament of conviction. Ultimately, our convictions are the testament of our lives, the legacy we leave behind. The Reformation was my testament, a testimony to the convictions that I live by and the change I sought to manifest in the world. What will your testament be? How will your conviction shape the world you leave behind? The true testament of conviction is not written in ink, but in the actions, changes, and lives we've touched through our steadfast belief. Let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. In what ways will your testament boast of the convictions you hold, and how will they honor the principles upon which they stand? The luminous path of conviction is perpetual, ever unfolding before us. It beckons us onward, promising growth, challenge, and fulfillment. As you walk this path, may your convictions shine brightly, guiding you and those who follow towards the horizon of a better tomorrow. With each step, you engrave your mark upon the world, a mark that says, "Here stood one who lived by the courage of conviction." The apex of destiny, enshrining convictions in the annals of eternity. As we ascend the summit of our endeavors, where the air of transcendence breathes life into the essence of our being, our convictions crystallize into the legacy we bequeath to the epochs. This is the apex of our destiny, where the convictions we have nurtured, defended, and embodied intertwine with the infinite tapestry of humanity's saga. The summit of conviction. At the pinnacle of conviction, one finds a vantage point that offers clarity and perspective. From this summit, the landscape of impact stretches out before us, a testament to the journey of steadfast belief and indomitable will. As you reach toward your own summit, reflect on the climb, the trials overcome, and the victories won through the strength of your convictions. How will you mark the summit of your journey, and what vistas of change do you hope to behold from this elevated perspective? Here I stand, I can do no other. What is the statement of your summit, the declaration of your highest conviction, the legacy of conviction? The true measure of our convictions is not captured in the fleeting moments of our present, but in the enduring legacy we leave for the generations that follow. As the Reformation set forth ripples that shape the course of history, so too will the convictions we hold dear mold the future in ways we may never fully comprehend. What legacy will your convictions leave? How will the steadfastness of your beliefs inspire and influence the world beyond your time? The seeds of today are the forest of tomorrow. What seeds are you sowing? Do not fear going forward slowly. Fear only to stand still. How will you ensure that your legacy is one of perpetual motion, ever moving towards greater enlightenment and understanding? The eternity of conviction. Convictions that resonate with truth and justice possess a quality of eternity. They transcend the temporal bounds and resonate through the ages. The words and actions we choose in adherence to our convictions can echo in perpetuity. As you contemplate the everlasting nature of your own convictions, consider what it means to be a part of this unending chorus of humanity. How will the echoes of your convictions reverberate through the halls of eternity? Word and faith must determine the way. How will your words and faith resound through the annals of time? The benediction of conviction. Finally, as we conclude this journey, we come to the benediction, the blessing of our convictions upon the world and ourselves. It is a moment of reflection, of giving thanks, and of setting forth our convictions to perform their work in the world even as we seek repose. Offer your benediction, a prayer of hope and courage for the convictions you have cherished and upheld. How will your final words serve as a blessing to the convictions that have been your companions along this odyssey? May God bestow upon you the grace to maintain your convictions with compassion and integrity, to inspire change and to be a beacon of light in the shadowed places. As we stand at the apex of our destiny, let us look back with pride at the path we have trod, and forward with hope to the path that lies ahead. Our convictions, enshrined in the annals of eternity, become not only our legacy, but a guiding light for all of humanity. Let us proceed, then, with hearts fortified by our unassailable convictions, into the embrace of our shared and everlasting destiny.